Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit today about the weather, and this is December, and our times of daylight, and our shortest day is coming up. The 21st of December is the winter solstice. The shortest day here in North Florida, we get 9 hours and 49 minutes on the shortest day of sunlight here in North Florida. And on June the 21st, we get 14 and a half hours of sunlight on the longest day, the summer solstice. So we're in a time period now where we have not much sunlight, and it's as soon as it starts on the 21st of December, the days start getting longer. So the days will start getting longer here shortly. Now, I wanted to read to you here in Genesis 8 where God promises summer and God promises winter. This is Genesis 8. Then God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. And the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat over in Turkey. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. Then he sent out a raven, which kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. He also sent out from himself a dove to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot. And she returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her, and drew her into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. Then the dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in her mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. So he waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him any more. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, in the 1st day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked. And indeed the surface of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried. Then God spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and cattle, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, and whatever creeps on the earth, according to their families, went out of the ark. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took of every clean animal, and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a soothing aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake, although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Nor will I again destroy every living thing, as I have done, while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. God promises summer, and God promises winter. Just that plain and simple. Genesis 8. I just read it to you. Now here in North Florida, last winter in December of last year, I've never seen it 15 degrees 5 days in a row. But we had 5 days in a row in North Florida, 15 degrees. I had to run my water in all my outside spigots last year, and I did get one busted valve for my water line. Now, in 1948, we had the worst El Nino flood ever here in North Florida. And in 1945, I was watching Hurricane Ian going through Orlando, Florida, headed our way. Well, they got 8.5 inches of rain back in 1945, the worst rainfall ever in Orlando, Florida, according to the Weather Channel. Now, when Hurricane Ian went through Orlando, they got 7 3/4 inches, the third worst ever. So what was going on in 1945 and in 1948? We had Nagasaki, we had Hiroshima, we had a whole bunch of nuclear testing work done out in the Nevada desert and out in the Pacific Ocean. They were exploding nuclear bombs pretty frequently. And that caused a bunch of extreme weather back then. Now, here about 6 years ago, Mr. Putin explained to Mr. Trump that he was going to build a doomsday device, a nuclear-powered cruise missile. Now, of course, here in the United States, we done tried to build one of them a long time ago. Von Braun tried to build one, and he said it was impossible to do. How you going to put a nuclear reactor in a missile that big around and shoot it off and you got to have lead to protect you from the radiation, and lead is heavy. So how you going to shoot off a nuclear-powered cruise missile? Well, the Russians blew one up on a base on the west side of Moscow. And the prevailing winds took all that nuclear radiation all across Siberia. And all of Siberia caught on fire that year. It burned Siberia up. And then in Northern California, they had the worst fires ever. Paradise, California, it wiped that place out. Now, that was some bad, dry weather in Northern California. Extreme weather. And so, now, Mr. Putin has tried to shoot off, the last thing I've read is 4 more. And he's doing it up in the Arctic Ocean, way up north. Way up north in the Arctic Ocean. And now look what's happened to Canada the last year or two. They're having all kind of extreme weather up in Canada now because of all the nuclear radiation that Mr. Putin has decided that he's going to build this nuclear-powered cruise missile, and he's going to keep working on it until he gets one to work. Now, what comes out the exhaust? Nuclear radiation. It's going to be a mess, a real nasty, nasty bomb if he can even get it to work. Now, I don't know how he's going to do it. I was on a nuclear submarine, and I watched them rebuild a nuclear reactor. It took a year, and I was a fire watch, and I watched them. And these lead welders, everything with nuclear, you got to have a thick lead, and everything's got to be sealed. And you got lead welders, and these guys that weld lead, they can only work as a lead welder for 1 year out of every 5, and they pay them a tremendous amount of money because lead is so poisonous.